is relying on funding from the Environmental Protection Agency's Great Lake Restoration Initiative to supplement Asian carp control.
Thank you. Congressman Dingell.
Everybody, I want to thank our panel for being here. We need your help. I want to thank everybody else for being here because we have a big problem. If these carp get into the lakes, we have a fine mess on our hands. Now, I know that there is a system of electric weirs, which I hope will be helpful. I know one of them is, I believe, down for maintenance, and one of them is less than full power. I note also that we have found carp DNA at the south end of Lake Michigan, and this is a matter, I think, of genuine concern to us all. Having said this, it's my view that the very best thing that we can do is to see to it that we close the locks so that they no longer are a point of access for the carp into the Great Lakes. I would point out that whatever we do, carp are not going to go away, and they're going to be a long-term and a continuing problem to all of us hereabout. I'm particularly troubled about the fact that we have allowed them to get this far north before we began to take action to see to it that something was properly done. I think that has now placed us in a position where we are a greater threat than we would have been had we proceeded with more vigor at an earlier time. Having said this, there are certainly two phases of what it is that is before us. The first is a short-term approach to the problem, and the second is the long-term approach. And we need to recognize that this goes beyond just a problem with carp. Because if you look at the Great Lakes, you'll find that they have been infested by all kinds of invasive species, beginning with the lamprey, which is a curse, and of course the different quagga and zebra mussels, and an assortment of small fish that are coming in from ballast and through other mechanisms. This being so, we have to address the concern that is properly before us, and that is that we are not controlling the entry of these kinds of species. And it's not just the Great Lakes, but almost every water system we have in this country, and a large number of other environmental concerns that we have in other types of dangers to us. Having said this, I'm delighted to see that we are doing what we're doing today. I hope from this will come a closure of the locks. But beyond that, I hope that a short-term control program will take place. And I think we're going to have to use a little bit of rotenone and perhaps other pesticides in the rivers if we can do so safely without threatening water quality, the environment, and public safety. Having said that, we do still confront the nasty problem of dealing with these carp over the long pull. Obviously, eradication won't work. I had a colleague in the Congress who was a Cajun who one time observed that we could handle the problem in Vietnam very nicely by telling the Cajuns that the Viet Cong were illegal, out of season, and good to eat. And he said we sent a few of them over there and they would dispose of that problem very quickly. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work here, but I think it's very clear that from this meeting and from our collective efforts is going to have to come a long-term approach to this matter, beginning with, as I mentioned, short-term approach. I'd suggest by the closure of the locks, but going beyond that, seeing to it that the repair of the electric weirs goes forward with all speed, and beyond that, that if additional mechanisms of this kind are required, they are put in place. Beyond that, I would suggest that a long-term program is going to require